The city did not break with noise, it broke with silence. At first, nothing seemed wrong. The street lamps still glowed. Windows still held their breath behind thin curtains. Berlin slept the way it always had. Then the silence changed. It became heavier, as if the air itself had learned a secret and refused to speak. He felt it before he saw it, a tightening in the chest, a quiet pressure behind the eyes, the kind that comes before bad news. He stood at his window, barefoot on cold wood, watching shadows move where they never moved before. Men, too many men, too still. Soldiers, they were not shouting. That was the strange part. They worked like ghosts, rolling wire, hammering posts, sealing streets that had never known borders. He whispered her name, not loudly, as if even the walls were listening. The city was being divided, and no one had been warned. That was the first shock. The second came moments later. He realized the street below him no longer led anywhere. At the far end, where a bakery used to glow at dawn, armed figures stood shoulder to shoulder. Behind them, darkness thickened. Not night, something final. He understood then, this was not a drill. This was not temporary. Something permanent was beginning, and he was on the wrong side. His hand trembled as he reached for the desk, the small one near the window, the one where unfinished thoughts gathered dust. He sat down slowly, as if sudden movement might make the moment real. Outside, metal scraped against stone. Inside, his heart counted seconds. He took out a single sheet of paper, yellowed already, though it had never been used. This was not how he imagined writing to her. He had imagined daylight, coffee cooling between sentences, a city open enough to forgive delays. Instead, the night pressed close, the walls leaned inward. He began to write, not about the soldiers, not about fear. He wrote about ordinary things, about how the mornings smelled different now, about how the sparrows still gathered near the fountain, about how he had saved the last photograph. His pen paused. He listened. Boots, closer now. A vehicle stopped somewhere nearby. An engine idled, impatient. His breath shortened. If they came to his door, the letter would remain unfinished. If they didn't, it might never be delivered. Either way, time was slipping. He wrote faster. Each sentence carried weight. Each word felt like it might be the last one she would ever receive from him. He wanted to tell her everything. He told her almost nothing, because the truth was too large for paper. Outside, a man shouted an order. It echoed once, then vanished. That was when he realized something else. No one was crossing the street anymore. No bicycles, no late-night laughter, no footsteps running home. The city had frozen in place. He folded the letter carefully, once, twice. His fingers lingered on the crease, as if memory could be pressed into paper. Then he sealed it. The envelope felt heavier than it should have. He did not write the date. He did not write a return address. He only wrote her name. A name now trapped behind concrete that did not yet exist but already felt endless. He stood up. For a moment, he considered hiding the letter, inside the drawer, behind the books, somewhere safe. But safety had become an illusion overnight. He slipped the letter into his coat. Outside, dawn tried to arrive. It failed. The sky stayed pale and uncertain, as if even the sun did not know where it was allowed to rise. He stepped into the street. Cold rushed into him. Neighbors stood in doorways, some crying quietly, some staring without expression. No one spoke. Words had lost their power. At the barricade, a young soldier avoided his eyes. His hands shook as much as the man's did. "Where are you going?" the soldier asked. The question felt cruel. "Across," he answered. The soldier swallowed. "That is no longer possible." That sentence landed like a blow. Not now, not today, not ever. He reached into his coat without thinking. His fingers brushed the letter. For a brief, dangerous moment, he considered pushing it into the soldier's hands, asking him to carry it, to do one human thing before becoming part of a wall. But the soldier stepped back. Orders mattered more than letters. Behind them, more wire was unrolled, more streets erased. The man turned away. He did not know where to go, only where he could not. As he walked back, the city looked unfamiliar, as if it had shifted while he wasn't watching. At home, he placed the letter on the desk, unsent, unopened, unforgiven by time. He sat beside it as morning finally arrived. The radio crackled with calm voices explaining necessity, security, protection, temporary measures. He turned it off. By afternoon, the wire would become concrete. By night, memory itself would be questioned. He touched the envelope one last time. He did not know that this letter would outlive the wall. He did not know it would remain sealed for decades. He did not know it would become evidence of a love history tried to erase. All he knew was this: a city had been split in two, and something precious had been trapped in between. The letter lay still, waiting. Chapter 2. The morning did not bring clarity. It brought rules. By sunrise, the wire had become order. By noon, order had become law. He learned this the hard way. When he stepped outside again, the street no longer belonged to the people who lived on it. It belonged to men with lists, men with eyes trained not to see faces. He held the letter inside his coat, close to his chest, as if warmth could protect it. He told himself this would be temporary, a day, a week. Cities did strange things sometimes. They corrected themselves, but the silence said otherwise. He walked toward the post office, not the one he usually used. That one was already blocked. He chose a longer route, past buildings that felt suddenly unfamiliar, past windows where curtains no longer moved. Every step felt watched. At the corner near the tram stop, he slowed. A sign had appeared overnight. Black letters, white background, authorized personnel only. The words felt final. He hesitated, then continued. This was his city. This was his street. A man stepped into his path. Not a soldier this time, an official, grey coat. Clipboard held like a shield. Identification, the word cut cleanly. He handed over his papers. The man examined them too long enough for fear to grow roots. Purpose of travel? The question sounded rehearsed. To send a letter. The official looked up, just for a moment. Then his eyes hardened. Where? He swallowed. Across? The word hung in the air. The official did not answer right away. Instead, he turned the clipboard slightly, checked something. Then he shook his head. There is no across anymore. That was the cliff he stood on. He tried again, quietly. It's important. The official sighed, not unkindly, just tired. You should go home. He wanted to argue, wanted to explain that some things did not belong to borders, but the man had already turned away. The post office doors were closed, not locked, just inactive. A notice was taped to the glass. Service temporarily suspended. Temporary again. The most dishonest word of the day. He stood there longer than he should have. People passed him. None met his eyes. When he finally moved, it was without direction. He wandered, past the school where children no longer played outside, past the cafe where chairs remained stacked, unused. Everywhere, the same feeling. Something had been interrupted mid-breath. At home, the radio spoke softly, carefully chosen words. Reassurance layered over urgency. He turned it down. He took out the letter. The envelope looked ordinary, too ordinary for the weight it carried. He wondered what would happen if he opened it again. If he changed something, added a sentence, but some words were meant to remain untouched. That thought stopped him. By afternoon, rumors spread faster than news. Someone had been arrested near the canal. Someone else had tried to jump the wire. Someone's brother had vanished during the night. Facts blurred. Fear sharpened. He kept the letter hidden, not out of fear for himself, but fear for it. As evening approached, he heard footsteps outside his door. Slow, measured. They stopped. His heart counted beats. A knock came. Once, then again. He opened the door. A neighbor stood there, an older woman, eyes red, hands shaking. "They took my son," she whispered. The sentence landed heavy. He did not know what to say. There were no correct words left. She looked past him, into his room. "You should hide anything important," she said. "They are checking homes." Then she was gone. That night, he did not sleep. He sat by the desk. The letter beside him. He thought about fire, about tearing it apart. He did neither. Instead, he wrapped it in cloth, carefully, gently, as if it were already fragile with age. Outside, engines hummed. Lights moved across walls. The city was being searched. Near dawn, someone shouted. A door slammed. A voice cried out. Then silence returned. The worst kind. He waited until morning. Then he made a decision. If the letter could not cross the city, it would have to survive it. He would hide it. Not forever, just long enough. He chose the drawer beneath the desk, the one that stuck slightly, the one no one ever checked. He placed the letter inside. For a moment, he rested his hand on the wood. He felt foolish, relieved, afraid, all at once. Days passed, each one heavier than the last. The wire became concrete. The concrete became wall, and the wall learned to watch. One afternoon, he returned home to find the drawer open. Just slightly, his breath caught. Nothing else was disturbed. No papers missing, no signs of struggle, only the drawer. He pulled it open fully. The letter was still there. But the cloth had been moved. Someone had touched it. Someone had chosen not to take it. That was worse than discovery. That meant it had been seen. That night, he understood something he had been avoiding. The letter was no longer just unsent, it was dangerous. And somewhere, on the other side of the wall, someone was still waiting for words that might never arrive. Chapter 3. The street remembered itself, even when the city refused to. He stood at the window again. Same place as before, same wood beneath his feet. But the street below had changed its meaning. Once it had been simple, a line of doors, a shared morning rhythm, neighbors greeting neighbors without thinking. Now it was two streets pretending to be one. A thin line ran through the middle, not painted, not marked, felt. On one side, men with rifles. On the other, people who had learned to walk slower. He could see her building from there, just barely, across the street, across the world. It was cruel how close it looked, a distance that could be crossed in seconds. Now impossible. He watched a woman step out of a doorway on the far side. She paused, looked left, looked right. Then she stood still, waiting for permission to exist. He felt something tighten inside him. This was not how walls were supposed to work. Walls were meant to block views, not preserve them. Seeing her world so clearly made the separation sharper, more personal. He pressed his forehead against the glass. She might be at her window too. He did not know. That uncertainty hurt more than knowing. Later that day, a sound carried across the street. A voice, low, urgent. He froze. It came again. A name, not his, someone else's. A man on the far side leaned out from a second-floor window, calling down, calling across. A woman appeared below him. She did not answer. She only nodded. Soldiers moved. The voice stopped. The moment collapsed into silence. He stepped back from the window. The wall was learning fast. By evening, a wooden barrier appeared. Temporary, they said. Like everything else, it cut the street cleanly, a wound with straight edges. People gathered on both sides. Quiet, careful. A child dropped a toy near the line. A soldier kicked it back without looking. The child did not cry. That scared him most. He went downstairs, slowly, as if moving too quickly might draw attention. At the barrier, he stopped. He stood exactly where he used to stand when waiting for her. Years ago, before work. Before this, he imagined stepping forward. Just one step. The ground did not change color, did not feel different. Yet every part of him knew. Crossing was no longer a movement. It was a decision. He did not make it. Across from him, a man his age stood. Same hesitation, same posture. Their eyes met. Neither smiled. No words passed between them. They were unnecessary. Both understood the same thing. They were being taught how far they were allowed to exist. That night, he dreamed of doors, endless doors, all unlocked, all opening into walls. He woke before dawn. The letter was still hidden, still untouched. He wondered if she felt it. The delay, the silence. People always said love survived distance. They never mentioned borders. The days stretched, slow, measured. The barrier grew taller, then thicker. Concrete arrived like a verdict. With it came rules written in smaller print. Permits, passes, exceptions that applied to almost no one. One afternoon, a list appeared. Names. Those allowed to cross. Those who would never be again. He did not look for his own. He looked for hers. It was not there. Relief came first, then fear. If she could not cross, neither could the letter. He began to notice details. How voices changed near the wall. Lower, flatter. How laughter ended abruptly, as if cut short. How people stopped saying tomorrow. One evening, he saw movement on the far side. A familiar figure, walking fast, head down. His heart reacted before his mind did. He leaned forward. It was her, older than he remembered, or maybe just tired. She stopped near the barrier, so close. For one impossible second, he thought she had seen him. He raised his hand. She did not look up. A soldier stepped between them. The moment vanished. He lowered his hand slowly, as if lowering a weight. That night, he took out the letter again. He read it. Every line, every pause. It sounded calmer than he felt. Kinder, braver. He wondered if she would recognize him in it, or if time would blur his voice. He folded it again, carefully. The next morning, shouting broke the routine. A crowd formed near the street corner. Raised voices, panic. He pushed closer. A man was arguing with a guard, papers in his hand, desperation on his face. "My mother is there," the man said. "Just there," he pointed. The guard did not follow his gesture. The guard shook his head. The man lunged forward. There was a crack, sharp, final. The man fell. No one screamed. They all stepped back. The body was taken away. The street resumed breathing. Something inside him shifted. That night, he did not dream. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The wall was no longer a line. It was a warning. In the early hours, footsteps stopped outside his door again. He did not move. A pause, then footsteps continued down the hall. He exhaled slowly. At dawn, he returned to the window. Across the street, a white cloth hung from a balcony. A signal or a goodbye. He could not tell. He watched until it was taken down. He stepped away. The city had learned to divide itself. So had the people. And somewhere, just a few meters away, a life continued without him. The letter remained hidden, still sealed, still waiting. But he began to wonder if waiting was no longer enough. The wall began to speak, not aloud, in whispers. He noticed it first at night, sounds that did not belong to sleep. A soft knock, a scrape, a pause that felt intentional. He sat up in bed, listening. Nothing followed. Silence returned, thicker than before. During the day, the street behaved. Orders were followed. Lines were respected. But after dark, the city loosened its grip. People learned new ways to exist. A woman across the street hung her laundry too late. A man lingered too long near the barrier. Small acts, careful ones. Messages began to travel without words. A window opened for exactly 3 seconds. A light blinked once, then twice. He did not know what they meant, only that they meant something. One evening, as he returned home, he felt eyes on him, not watching, waiting. At the stairwell, a man brushed past him, too close. The man did not apologize. He slipped something into his hand, paper thin, folded once. By the time he turned, the man was gone. He stood frozen on the stairs. His heart knew before his mind caught up. He climbed slowly, locked the door, sat at the desk. He unfolded the paper. One sentence. Some letters still cross. No signature, no explanation, just that. His breath shook. Was it a promise? A warning? He hid the paper beneath the desk blotter. That night, sleep refused him. He listened harder now, more carefully, and the whispers grew clearer. Footsteps that stopped suddenly, murmurs pressed low against walls. A cough used as a signal. The wall was not solid, not entirely. It had seams. He saw it one afternoon near the canal. 2 men stood unusually close to the concrete, too relaxed. One of them dropped his cigarette, the other bent to pick it up. Their hands touched the wall at the same moment. Nothing happened, yet something had passed. He walked away quickly. Knowing was dangerous, but unknowing felt worse. Days later, another note appeared, this time taped to his door. Inside the stairwell, hidden from the street. Do not trust the quiet ones. His chest tightened. Everyone was quiet now. Who did that leave? He began to notice patterns. Which guards rotated at night? Which streets emptied faster than others? Which windows glowed longer? Fear sharpened his attention. One evening, there was a knock. Not the heavy kind. 3 light taps, a pause, then two more. He opened the door a crack. A woman stood there, younger than him, eyes too alert. She did not speak at first. She looked past him, into the room. Then she whispered, "You have something." The words were not a question. He said nothing. She nodded. "That's safer," she said. His pulse raced. "I can help," she added. "But only once." He hesitated. The wall hummed faintly outside. A low, constant presence. "What do you want?" he asked. "To make sure it survives," she said. He thought of the letter, the sealed envelope, the waiting, how he asked. She shook her head. "Not here." A sound echoed from the stairwell below. Voices. She stepped back instantly. "Decide," she said. "Tonight." Then she was gone. He closed the door softly. His hands shook. He paced the room. Trust was a luxury. So was hope. But the letter felt heavier now, as if it were listening to. At midnight, he heard it again. The knock, same pattern. He opened the door. She stood there with another man, older, calmer. He did not meet her eyes. He looked at the man. The man spoke softly. "We move words," he said, "not people." The phrase settled slowly. "How?" he asked again. The man smiled faintly. "The wall is loud," he said. "It covers smaller sounds." They stepped inside. The woman closed the door. She moved the desk aside, lifted the rug. There was a crack in the floor, narrow, hidden. "We don't take the letter," she said. "We copy it." The idea stunned him. "No," he said. "It must be read," she interrupted. Eventually, the man knelt, pulled something from his coat, thin paper, ink. "Write it again," he said. "Exactly." His mouth went dry. He took the letter from the drawer. His fingers lingered on the seal. Breaking it felt like betrayal, but leaving it unread felt worse. He opened it. The words stared back at him, calm, steady. He copied, line by line. Each sentence felt like a confession. The woman watched the door. The man watched the clock. When he finished, the man folded the copy. "Good," he said. "What now?" he whispered. The woman answered, "Now we see if the wall listens." They left as quietly as they arrived. The original letter returned to its place, sealed again, untouched by the world. Days passed, nothing happened. Then one morning, a sound cut through the routine. Sirens, not one, many. He rushed to the window. Down the street, men ran. A truck blocked the corner. Guards poured out. Doors were opened, forced. Someone had been found. His breath caught. Footsteps thundered in the building. He backed away from the desk. The drawer, the letter. A knock slammed against his door. Not gentle, not coded, open. He did not move. The knock came again, louder. He reached for the drawer, then stopped. If they took it now, it would vanish. If they didn't, the door burst open. Two guards entered. Their eyes scanned the room, the desk, the floor. One of them paused near the drawer. His hand hovered. The guard looked at him. Then, slowly, he stepped away. They left without a word. The door remained open. He sank into the chair. Hours later, he heard the news. Someone had been caught moving messages, not letters, voices, whispers turned into names. And the wall grew quieter again, too quiet. That night, he realized the truth. The wall did not just separate people. It listened, and it remembered, and somewhere beyond it, someone might already be reading words that were never meant to arrive. Chapter 5. Waiting changes a person. It teaches the body new habits. She learned them quickly. On her side of the street, mornings began earlier now, not with alarm clocks, with listening. She woke before light, lay still, counted footsteps outside her building. Some days there were many, some days none. Both felt dangerous. She lived 3 floors up, a narrow apartment, windows facing the street that no longer connected. She avoided standing too close to the glass, not out of fear, out of hope. Hope hurt more when it was seen. She brewed coffee slowly, let it cool, drank it anyway. Routine was protection. Neighbors spoke less. When they did, their voices stayed low, as if walls had learned to carry sound. She went to work, returned on time, never late. Lateness invited questions. Every evening, she passed the barrier, not crossing, just walking near enough to remind herself it was real. Concrete rose higher each week. Grey, uninterested, she studied it like a face, searching for weakness. None appeared. People disappeared instead. A woman from the 2nd floor stopped coming home. A man from the bakery never reopened his shop. No announcements followed. Silence replaced them. She learned not to ask, but she remembered the letter, not the words. She had never read them, the idea, the possibility that something was meant for her, that something had been written before the city decided otherwise. She did not know how she knew. She only knew she was waiting. Sometimes she imagined him at his desk, writing carefully, pausing between sentences. Sometimes she imagined the letter already destroyed, burned, lost. That thought made breathing difficult. One afternoon, a child slipped under the barrier while guards argued nearby. The child ran across the street laughing. For a moment, nothing happened. Then hands grabbed him, pulled him back. The laughter stopped. The child was returned to his mother. The guards pretended nothing had happened. Everyone pretended. That night, she dreamed of paper falling from the sky. Blank sheets, endless. She woke with a start. Her doorbell rang. She froze. No one rang bells anymore. The sound came again. She did not move. A 3rd time, then a knock. Soft. She opened the door a fraction. A woman stood there, young, eyes sharp. They looked alike in ways that mattered. "You're waiting," the woman said quietly. It was not a question. She said nothing. The woman nodded. "Good," she whispered. "That means you're ready." Ready for what? The stairwell echoed. Footsteps. The woman stepped closer. "Not here," she said. "Tomorrow." At the laundry. Then she left. The door closed. Her hands trembled. The laundry was monitored. Everyone knew that. Why there? The next day passed slowly. At work, numbers blurred. Voices faded. Her body stayed tense. At dusk, she went to the laundry room. The smell of soap and damp cloth filled the air. Machines hummed. Steady, loud, too loud. The woman was there, folding a sheet. She did not look up. "Do you have something?" the woman asked. "No," she said. "That's what we need," the woman replied. She slid a piece of paper across the table, not folded, not sealed. "Read," she whispered. She hesitated, then read. It was not a letter, it was a copy. Her breath caught halfway through the first line. The handwriting was familiar. The rhythm, she had seen it before, on notes, on books returned to shelves. Her knees weakened. "He's alive," the woman said. The sentence felt unreal. "Where?" she asked. The woman shook her head. "We don't know how long." The machines rattled. Someone entered, then left. "Why give this to me?" she whispered. Because waiting is dangerous, the woman replied. And because letters remember. She folded the paper quickly, slid it into her coat. Her heart pounded. That night she read it again, slowly. Each sentence felt like a hand on her shoulder, calm, steady. No fear, no anger, just presence. Tears came without warning. She pressed the paper to her chest. Across the wall, a man sat at a desk. She felt certain of it. Days passed. The woman did not return. The city grew stricter. New lights appeared along the wall, brighter, colder. One evening, she saw him, not clearly, a figure at a window. Across the street, 3 floors up. He did not move. She stood still. Seconds stretched. Then a curtain shifted. The figure disappeared. Her heart raced. Had it been him? Or hope playing tricks again? The next morning, her neighbor knocked. They're searching apartments. The neighbor whispered, "Be careful." She hid the copy beneath a loose floorboard. Her hands shook. That afternoon, boots echoed in the stairwell. Doors opened, closed, closer. Her turn came. 2 guards entered, looked around. One paused near the floor. She held her breath. He straightened. They left. She sank onto the bed. That night, a note appeared beneath her door. Just 2 words. Still waiting. She smiled for the first time in weeks. She wrote a response. Carefully, yes. She slid it back under the door. No signature, no address. The wall loomed larger now, not just concrete. A living thing, listening. Days later, shouting broke the night. Lights flashed. She rushed to the window. Across the street, a door was being forced open. His building. Her chest tightened. Men dragged someone out. She could not see his face. Only the shape, too familiar. The door slammed shut again. The street returned to silence. She stood shaking. The copy burned against her skin. Alive, the woman had said. But alive did not mean safe. She sat down, tried to breathe. The wall had spoken again. And this time, it had taken something. She did not know if the letter would ever reach him now, or if it had already arrived too late. The door closed behind them, hard, final. He did not resist, not because he agreed, because resistance had learned to be useless. Hands pushed him forward, down the stairs, past doors that stayed shut. No one watched. That hurt more than being seen. Outside, the night air cut sharp, cold, uninterested. A truck waited. Engine running, lights off. They did not speak to him. They did not need to. He climbed in. The door slammed. Darkness swallowed sound. The truck moved. He counted turns, left, right. Then nothing that made sense. Time stretched. He thought of the letter, not the words, the waiting. He wondered if she had seen, if she knew. The truck stopped. Hands pulled him out. A building rose in front of him, low, wide, windows dark. Inside, the air smelled of old paper and metal. They took his coat, his watch, his name. A man sat behind a desk, no uniform. Just a face trained not to react. "Why do you write?" the man asked. The question surprised him. "I write because..." He stopped. Truth felt dangerous. The man waited, because words last, he said finally. The man smiled faintly. That is exactly the problem. He was led down a corridor. A door opened. A room with 1 chair. 1 light. They left him there. Minutes passed, or hours. He listened to his breathing. The door opened again. A different man entered, older, calmer. He placed something on the table. Paper, his handwriting, the copy. His chest tightened. "You recognize this?" the man said. "Yes." "Who helped you?" Silence. The man leaned closer. "Walls do not fall because of concrete," he said. "They fall because of words." The sentence hung heavy. He said nothing. The man sighed. "You are not special," he continued. "You are ordinary." That felt like mercy. "We could make you disappear," the man said softly. "No one would ask." He swallowed. "But," the man added, "we are patient." Patience again. They let him go. Not home. Somewhere else. A room, smaller, colder, a bed without sheets. Days passed. He was not questioned again. That frightened him. Silence returned. The institutional kind. He measured time by footsteps in the hall, by meals slid through a slot. He thought of her, the copy, the woman, the note. He wondered if she still waited. One night, a sound woke him, a whisper from the wall. Not imagined, real. "Are you awake?" His heart raced. "Yes," he whispered back. A pause. "They took you because of the letter," the voice said. He closed his eyes. "They know," he replied. "They don't know everything," the voice said. Hope stirred. "Small, dangerous. Do not give them more," the voice added. The footsteps returned. The voice vanished. Morning came. A guard opened the door. "You're being moved," he said. No explanation. They took him outside again. Another truck, another route. He watched the sky through a crack in the canvas. Grey, low. The truck stopped. This place was different, larger, colder, the walls thicker. Inside, people did not speak. Eyes avoided each other. This was where names ended. He was assigned a number. It did not matter. Days blended. Work, silence, sleep. He learned the rhythm. When to look down, when to stand still. One evening, someone slipped him a note. Just one word. She, his heart stopped. He hid the paper instantly. That night, he could not sleep. Was she safe? Had the copy reached her? The next day, a guard called his number. He followed. A small office. A single chair. The older man sat there again. "You should have destroyed it," the man said. He said nothing. The copy crossed. The man continued. "That was a mistake." He felt dizzy. "She read it," the man added. Relief surged. Then fear. "She knows you live," the man said. "That is dangerous. What will you do?" he asked. The man leaned back. "Nothing," he said. For now, he was sent back. The waiting resumed. Weeks passed. One morning, the camp buzzed with tension. Guards whispered. Lists were checked twice. Something had changed. That night, the whisper returned. "She is being watched," the voice said. But she is not alone. Hope returned. Stronger, the voice faded. The next day, chaos broke routine. Alarms, shouting. Men ran. He was pushed against a wall, ordered to wait. Hours passed, then silence. At nightfall, his door opened. A guard gestured. "Go." He hesitated. "Go," the guard repeated. Outside, the air felt different, lighter. The truck took him back, near his street, not home, but close enough to hurt. They released him without words. He walked alone. His building stood intact, his window dark. Inside, the desk waited. The drawer closed, the letter still there. He touched it, alive, but changed. Across the wall, she waited, and now so did the wall, listening, remembering, preparing. He did not know which of them would move first. Time stopped behaving normally after that. It stretched, then folded back on itself. He returned to routines as if they still mattered. Wake, wash, listen. Nothing felt the same. The street below his window looked unchanged, but he knew better now. It remembered him. He noticed small absences first. A guard missing from his usual post, a light that no longer turned on at night, changes without explanation. He walked less, spoke even less. People avoided him, not out of dislike, out of recognition. Something had marked him. Across the wall, life continued, but differently. He sensed it. A curtain drawn earlier than before. A window that opened only a fraction. She was careful now. That was good and terrifying. Days passed without messages. No knocks, no notes. The silence felt deliberate. He touched the letter each night, not opening it, just reminding himself it existed. Sometimes he imagined the copy dissolving in her hands. Sometimes he imagined it burning. Both thoughts hurt. One afternoon, the radio crackled with news. Dry, official. An attempted crossing. A warning shot. An investigation ongoing. No names. He turned it off. At dusk, he saw movement across the street. 2 figures, standing too close. She was one of them. His breath caught. The other figure leaned in, whispered. She shook her head. The figure stepped back, disappeared. She remained, alone. She looked up. This time, she did not look away. Their eyes met. The world narrowed. Seconds passed. A guard shifted. She lowered her gaze. The moment ended. But something had changed. That night, a note appeared under his door. Thin, careful. Tomorrow, no more. He did not sleep. Morning arrived quietly. Too quietly, he waited. Midday passed. Footsteps echoed in the stairwell. A knock, 3 taps, pause, 2 more. He opened the door. The older man stood there, alone. "You should not be here," he said. "I know," the man replied. They stood in silence. "The wall is nervous," the man said. He said nothing. "It has reason," the man continued. "Too many words moving." "Then stop listening," he said. The man smiled sadly. "That is not how walls survive." He handed him something. A folded paper. Not the copy, different handwriting. He unfolded it slowly. A list. Names, some crossed out, some not. Her name was there, not crossed out. His hands trembled. "She has been noticed," the man said, "but not yet taken." "Why show me this?" he asked. "Because waiting is ending," the man replied. A pause. "You will have one chance," the man added. "One chance for what?" The man looked toward the street, to decide what the letter becomes. Then he left. The door closed softly. He sat down. The list burned in his mind. That evening, guards increased. Lights brightened. The wall felt closer. He heard whispers again. Urgent, afraid. Someone was taken from a building nearby. Not him, not yet. At night, he dreamed of the letter opening itself. Words escaping, flying across the wall like birds. He woke with tears on his face. Morning came, so did the knock. This time, she stood there, on his side. For one impossible moment, he thought he was still dreaming. Her face was pale, older, familiar in ways that hurt. They did not touch. They did not speak. The stairwell echoed. "We have minutes," she whispered. He nodded. She held up the copy, creased, worn. "I read it every night," she said. He swallowed. "They are watching me," she continued. "They think I am waiting for something else." He understood. "They will take me," she said calmly. "Soon, no," he whispered. "Yes," she replied, "but not yet." She looked at the desk. "The original," she said. He hesitated. "That one cannot cross," she said. "They know it exists." "What do you want me to do?" he asked. She met his eyes, and the waiting. He opened the drawer, took out the letter, still sealed. He placed it on the desk, between them. They stared at it, a lifetime compressed into paper. "If you open it," she said, "it becomes proof." "If I don't," he replied, "it becomes nothing." She shook her head. "It becomes memory," she said. Footsteps echoed below. "Closer. They are coming," she whispered. He made his choice. He tore the letter open, not slowly, not carefully. The paper trembled. He read aloud every word. The room filled with his voice, calm, steady, not afraid. Footsteps stopped outside the door. The door burst open. Guards entered. She stepped back. He kept reading. They shouted. He did not stop. The words crossed the room, the wall. Time. When he finished, silence fell. They took him. They did not take her. She stood alone, holding the copy, listening to the echo of words that could no longer be contained. The door closed. The wall remained. But something inside it had shifted, and neither of them knew yet what price would be paid for finally ending the wait. Chapter 8. The city breathed differently after that, as if it had heard something it could not unhear. They took him quickly, no words, no explanations. She remained behind, standing in the room, the echo of his voice still hanging in the air. The letter lay open on the desk, torn, finally exposed. She did not touch it. She knew better. Outside, boots faded down the stairs. Then silence returned, not empty, listening. She left before dawn, not running. Running invited attention. She walked as if nothing had changed, because everything had. The street watched her pass. Windows blinked awake. Curtains shifted. She felt eyes, but no one stopped her. At the barrier, a guard glanced at her papers. Too long, her heart slowed itself. Fear learned to hide. He waved her through. That small mercy felt dangerous. On her side, the wall loomed taller. Brighter lights, more wire. The city was correcting itself. She returned to routine. Work, home, listening. But inside her, something refused to settle. The words had been spoken aloud. That mattered. Words behaved differently once heard. They traveled. She noticed changes. Guards argued more quietly. Radios hissed longer between messages. At night, whispers returned. Faster now. Urgent. One evening, the woman who had first approached her appeared again. "At the laundry, you should not be here," the woman said. "Neither should you," she replied. They stood close, pretending to fold sheets. "He is alive," the woman whispered. Relief struck hard. "For now," the woman added. Her breath shook. "They are deciding," the woman continued. "What to do with him, with the letter?" she asked. "With what it started," the woman said. The machines rattled, covered their voices. "Words make cracks," the woman said. "Cracks become paths." "Then why hasn't the wall fallen?" she asked. The woman met her eyes. "Because it is afraid," she said. That night, she dreamed of concrete splitting. Slowly, painfully, she woke before dawn. A note waited under her door. No words, just a symbol, a small line, broken in the middle. She knew what it meant. Movement. The next days unfolded carefully. Too carefully. She felt followed, but never caught. At work, a man asked her name twice. She answered once. At home, someone had entered her apartment. Nothing was missing. The copy remained hidden, but disturbed. They were closing in. One afternoon, the radio spoke again. Different tone this time. An announcement, measured. Administrative adjustments will occur near the border. Her hands went cold. That evening, lights along the wall flickered, then went out. Darkness pooled where concrete stood. People paused, looked up. The city held its breath. Then generators hummed. Lights returned, but something had changed. A gap had appeared. Not large, just enough. Part 3. That night, she was taken. Not roughly. Not kindly, efficiently. A car, no markings. She did not resist. Inside, a man sat across from her. Not the older one, younger, sharper. You have been patient, he said. She said nothing. Patience is useful, he continued, until it becomes contagious. He placed the copy on the table, her handwriting, her folds. This crossed, he said. Yes, she replied. How? He asked. She waited. He leaned back. You think silence protects you, he said. It doesn't. He slid another paper forward, a transcript, his words, read aloud. Her chest tightened. Walls do not like to be spoken about, the man said. Then why listen? She asked. He smiled thinly. Because listening teaches us where to reinforce. She stood suddenly. You won't, she said. You can't. He watched her. Why? He asked. Because too many heard it, she replied. The smile faded. That was her cliff. They held her overnight. Not harshly, not gently. In a room with no windows. She counted breaths. Morning came. They released her. No explanation. Outside, the city buzzed. Not loudly, but differently. People gathered near the wall, pretending not to. Something was spreading. She returned home. Another note waited. This one had words. Tonight, she did not hesitate. At dusk, she walked toward the wall, closer than ever before. Others did the same, one by one. Guards shouted. Orders cracked. Someone pushed forward. Then another. Concrete trembled, not from force, from pressure. Voices rose, not angry. Certain names were spoken. Dates, memories. The wall absorbed sound, then failed to hold it. A crack appeared, small, real. She felt tears without sadness. Across the divide, she saw movement. A familiar silhouette, thin, standing, alive. Their eyes met through the gap, not touching, but connected. The crack widened. Guards fell back. Someone screamed. History inhaled. The wall did not fall. Not yet, but it leaned. And everyone felt it. Because once words escape, they do not return to paper. They move forward, and the city knew. The waiting was almost over. Chapter 9. The night refused to end. It stretched itself thin, as if afraid of what morning might bring. The crack in the wall remained. Small, uneven, not enough to pass through, enough to believe. People stood near it without touching. Standing too close felt dangerous. Standing too far felt like surrender. She stayed. She did not know why, only that leaving felt wrong. Guards paced. Orders were repeated, then repeated again. No one moved. Across the gap, shadows shifted. Voices murmured. He was there, she was sure of it. Not free, not gone, present. That knowledge kept her upright. A man near her whispered a name. Another answered with a date. Someone else added a place. The wall absorbed sound, but not meaning. She felt it then. This was not protest. This was remembering. Lights flared suddenly. Bright, harsh. The crowd flinched. A loudspeaker crackled. Disperse. No one did. The word felt old, out of place. The crack widened a fraction. Concrete groaned. She pressed her hand to her chest. Across the divide, she saw him clearly for the first time. Thinner, paler. Still him. Their eyes met again. This time, he raised his hand. Not waving, just holding it there. She mirrored the gesture. Distance shrank. A guard stepped forward, then stopped. Another guard hesitated. Orders arrived too late. The wall shuddered. A piece fell. Small, heavy. It hit the ground with a dull sound. The crowd inhaled as one. No one cheered. This was not victory. Not yet. The night deepened. Hours passed. The crack spread slowly, like ice breaking on water. Men arrived with tools. Not to stop it, to manage it. That difference mattered. She was pulled aside gently, a hand on her arm. The older man stood beside her. "You should go home," he said. "No," she replied. He studied her. "They are moving him," he said quietly. Her heart lurched. "Where?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not far," he said. "Close enough." She followed without thinking. They moved through side streets, back corridors, places she had never noticed before. The city felt hollow. They stopped at a building with no sign. Inside, stairs descended. Cold air rose. A door opened. She stepped in. He was there, sitting, hands free, eyes tired, alive. For a moment, neither moved. Then he stood. They did not touch. Not yet. "You read it," he said. "Yes," she replied. "You heard it," he added. "Yes." A breath passed between them. "They will not let me go," he said. She nodded. "I know." He looked past her. "The letter is no longer the point," he said. She understood. "What do they want?" she asked. "Time," he replied. "They always want time." Footsteps echoed above. The older man stiffened. "They are coming," he said. He turned to her. "You must decide," he said. Now she looked at him, then at the man she had waited for. "I already did," she said. She reached into her coat, pulled out the copy, worn, creased. She held it up. "This crossed," she said. "Others can too." The older man exhaled. "They will destroy it," he warned. She shook her head. "No," she said. "They already tried." She stepped forward, placed the copy on the table, between them. "If this disappears," she said, "the words don't." He looked at her. Pride flickered. Then sadness. "You should leave," he said. She did not argue. She leaned in, rested her forehead against his. Just for a second. Then footsteps reached the door. Guards entered. No shouting, no force. The older man raised a hand. "Enough," he said. The guards hesitated. That hesitation mattered. She was led out, not roughly, not kindly. Outside, dawn waited, grey, soft. The city was awake now. People gathered again near the wall. More than before, someone had brought tools, hammers, bars, not organized, determined. The crack grew wider. News traveled faster than control. She returned home briefly, packed nothing. There was no time. A note waited under her door. One word, now. She followed the flow of people. The wall leaned. Concrete fell in chunks, not collapsing, yielding. Across the opening, hands reached through, not to pull, to touch. She reached too. Fingers brushed, then held. On the other side, he was being moved again. She saw it. This time, she ran. She did not think. She ran toward the opening. Guards shouted. Someone grabbed her arm. She slipped free. The crowd surged. The wall cracked wider. Enough. Just enough. She crossed. Not fully, just stepped into the space between. A place that had not existed before. Hands pulled her back. Hands pushed her forward. Chaos swelled. Then order broke. She saw him again. Closer now. A guard blocked the way. Another guard stepped aside. The first hesitated. That was the moment. He moved, she moved. They collided in the space where the wall had failed. They held each other tightly, briefly, enough. Then hands separated them. Not violently, urgently. He was taken back. She was pulled away. But something had changed. The wall had lost its authority. As the sun rose, cracks multiplied. Concrete could not argue with time. By morning, the opening was undeniable. Not freedom, but possibility. She stood on her side again, breathing hard, watching as the city rewrote itself. The copy was gone. Taken, lost, destroyed. It did not matter. Because somewhere between concrete and memory, a sealed letter had finally done its work, and the wall, for the first time, did not know how to answer. Morning arrived without ceremony. No speeches, no announcements, just light. It touched the wall first, the broken parts, the places that could no longer pretend. People stood quietly, as if afraid sound might undo what had begun. She was there again. Same place, different world. The opening remained. Rough, unfinished. No one repaired it. That mattered. Across the gap, movement continued. Careful, measured. Not freedom, not yet, but no longer denial. She waited. Waiting had changed shape now. It no longer hurt the same way. Guards still stood nearby, but their posture had softened. Orders came slower. Someone laughed once, nervously. No one stopped them. She felt the absence first, the absence of pressure, as if something heavy had been lifted from the air. A man beside her whispered, "They cannot close it again." She did not answer. She knew the wall had listened too long. It had heard too much. Across the divide, she saw him, not being moved, not restrained, standing, alone, alive. Their eyes met. This time, no one stepped between them. He took a step forward. She did the same. Not running, walking. Every step felt unreal, as if the ground might change its mind. They stopped a few feet apart, so close now, close enough to see the lines time had drawn on his face, close enough to feel the truth settle. They did not speak. Words felt unnecessary again. Behind them, the crowd shifted. More people arrived, some crying, some smiling without knowing why. The wall groaned softly. Another piece fell. No one flinched. He reached out. She hesitated. Habit lingered. Then she took his hand. It was warm, that shocked her. She had imagined this moment so often, always colder. He squeezed gently, as if asking permission. She nodded. That was enough. They stood there, while the city adjusted, while rules forgot themselves. Someone began to chip at the concrete. Slowly, almost respectfully, the sound echoed. Not violent, persistent. A voice called out from behind. Her name. She turned. The older man stood there, tired, relieved. "It's ending," he said. She studied his face. "Is it?" she asked. He smiled sadly. "No," he replied, "but it's begun." He looked at them together. "You should leave," he added. "Before they remember how to stop this." He was right. They knew it. They walked away. Not far, just far enough. Down streets that felt new again. Buildings looked taller, windows brighter. The city felt like it was waking from a long, careful sleep. They stopped at the old desk, the room where the letter had waited. The drawer was empty, the seal broken forever. Only fragments remained, paper edges, memory. She touched the desk. "This is where you wrote it," she said. "Yes," he replied. "It kept me alive," she added. He did not answer right away. Then he said, "It kept me human." They sat. Silence returned, a softer kind. Outside, the sound of concrete breaking continued, not collapsing, opening. She thought of the letter, how it had never crossed as intended, how it had crossed anyway. Time passed, not measured, felt. At dusk, a radio somewhere played music. Someone had chosen it. That mattered too. He stood at the window, watched people move freely where fear once ruled. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "The letter," he replied. "Yes," he thought. "No," he said. "But I regret waiting so long to read it aloud." She smiled. "So do I," she said. Night fell gently. No curfews announced. No sirens, just stars. They stayed. They did not rush the future. The wall did not fall that night. Not fully. It did not need to. It had already failed. Days later, the opening widened. Weeks later, crossings became ordinary. Months later, the wall was a memory people touched to remind themselves it had been real. The letter was never recovered. No museum claimed it. No archive preserved it. That felt right. Some things are not meant to be displayed. They are meant to be lived. Years later, someone would ask how it began. They would mention politics, pressure, history. But she would remember something else. A quiet room, a calm voice, words read aloud without fear. A sealed letter from 1961, not delivered, but received at last. And when the city finally learned to breathe again, it was not because walls had fallen. It was because people had remembered that silence can break, and words, once spoken, never return to paper.